Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, the #1 YouTube channel for you to level up your communication skills, learn the art of public speaking, social skills, and personal branding to take your message to the world. For today's episode, I want to talk about the effect that an ego has on the communication skills that you currently possess. If you've been following this channel for a while, you'll notice that I talk about a lot of variety of topics to deal with explaining communication skills. Why do I do this? I do this because communication skills, at the end of the day, deals with people. And people, at the end of the day, are very, very complex creatures. You can't just study one subject and tackle these complex creatures. You have to understand a huge variety of subjects. Thus far, I've talked about emotional intelligence, I've talked about creativity, I've talked about social intelligence. And today's episode, I want to talk about psychology. Psychology is going to play a huge role in the world of communication skills. The more that you understand yourself, the better that you can understand others. That's why you got to learn about the ego. The ego is playing a huge, huge role in your current reality. And I want to use today's video to break the ego down. I want to teach you what the ego exactly is. I want to explain the ego through a fun analogy with an old man and a dog. And finally, I want to give you a very simple, no-nonsense guide on taming the ego. Seriously, it's going to be so simple to a point where you're like, that's it? But yes, in this channel, I don't sugarcoat anything. I keep it simple and to the point. So if you're excited to tame the ego and turn it into a weapon, go on and drop a like for me right on below. What is the ego? In summary, I could talk about this for a while. It's not a bird. I know it sounds like a bird, but at the end of the day, it's the bridge between your two minds. You have the conscious mind, which is your critical thinking mind, and you have the subconscious mind, which is your emotional feeling mind. The ego rests right in between that. The ego is your sense of self. It's an accumulation of your thoughts and feelings. Typically, when people start learning about the ego, they start demonizing it. They're like, oh, whoa, this is pretty bad. I gotta kill it. So they go on this little journey to try to kill the ego. Let me save you some time. You can't kill the ego because, like I just said, it's a bridge between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. That's sort of like you trying to kill the two minds. Doesn't work. But you can try though. And the more you try to kill the ego, the worse off it is for you. Because you start getting a strange byproduct of a weird personality. You know what that is? The nice guy. Your new sense of self is going to be of that of the nice guy. And if you don't know what the nice guy is a person who doesn't have any sort of principles, they don't stand for anything, and they let other people walk all over them. That is a person who tried killing their ego, but they've adopted a new sense of self. You don't want that. You want to start using the ego for your benefit. It is simply the sense of self. It's neutral at first. What you assign it is completely your perspective. So let me help you understand the ego with the example of an old man and a dog. Wait a minute, Armani, an old man and a dog? Yes. So imagine you are currently an old man. Say you are 100 years old, and at this point, your body is giving up on you, and you still need to stay safe. You just moved into a very, very bad neighborhood, and you need to stay safe. So what do? You get a guard dog. With this guard dog, if anyone from this bad neighborhood breaks into your house, you'll be good to go. So one day, you're just chilling at your crib, and out of nowhere, a burglar breaks in. Now this guard dog is completely trained, right? But instead of attacking the burglar, the dog begins to attack you. So at this point, the dog is attacking you, the burglar steals all your shit, and you lost. You lost. This is an example of an untamed ego. Let me give you another situation. Another situation is as though you're just chilling at your crib one day, and there is no dog. And the burglar breaks in once again. This time, the burglar beats you up and once again steals your shit. This is sort of like you trying to kill the ego. So at this point, I give you two very bad examples. So I can't leave you hanging. And let me give you the third example. The third example is, again, you're chilling at your crib and the burglar breaks in. But this time, you tell your trained dog, hey, get him, attack him. And the dog listens to your command and starts attacking the burglar. At this point, you call the cops come, take the burglar to jail, and you have just won the situation. This is the tamed ego. Your ego is the guard dog, my friend. It is supposed to help you. It is not supposed to hurt you. It's supposed to give you a sense of self. It's supposed to give you a purpose. And once you start understanding that, you stop demonizing the ego and you start learning to work with it. So hopefully that gives you a stronger idea of what the ego is. It's a sense of self and it's neutral until you have a perception assigned to it. Now with that being said, let's get to the moment of truth. Why do people have an ego and how do you fix it? How do you tame it? The reason that people have untamed egos is because they have a lot of black and white thinking. If you go up to one of these people that are very angry all the time, that are always negative, that are always feeling hopeful, ask them, who are you as a person? I guarantee you they're going to say something like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I am a lawyer. And they have this label that they attach to their entire personality. This is dangerous. This is dangerous because at this point, you are assigning that label to your ego. Now your ego starts viewing life from that label. You start trying to pull other people into this renewed worldview that you currently have. All because of black and white thinking in terms of your ego. Whoa, all right, Armani, I don't want that. So what do I do? Well, here's the thing. If you ask me right now, yo, Armani, who are you as a person? You better realize that it's going to take me hours and hours and hours to respond back. Who knows? If you told me to write it on a piece of paper, I'd probably come back with 300 pages. Because for me, I can't just have a black and white label to who I am as a person. And this, on the other hand, is gray thinking. Gray thinking is the kind of thinking that you want in terms of taming your ego. So from here on out, you want to start getting a true sense of yourself. Who are you as a person? What do you stand for? What scares you? What are you working towards? Where are you coming back from? Once you start making understandings in these kinds of realms, what starts happening is that you start getting more folds in your thinking. You start becoming a more nuanced thinker. And at this point, you start making a fascinating realization. You start realizing, whoa, I'm a pretty complex creature now that I think about it. And once you start understanding that you are a very complex creature, automatically what's going to happen is that you start realizing that other people are very, very complex creatures as well. Once you're able to get a strong sense of yourself, I guarantee you, your entire communications life changes. It's night and day, really. The life of someone who has an untamed ego versus someone who has a tamed ego is completely different. Stuff that made you really mad before, stuff that you would debate about for a long time, stuff that you would try to force onto others, is no longer a problem. It's no longer a concern. Before, you were driving with zero perspective on what was on your left side, on your right side, behind you. You only knew what was in front of you. But with the tamed ego, once you start getting the nuanced thinking, once you start adopting great thinking, at this point, you have perspective of your left, your right, and what's behind you, including what is in front of you. You start driving the car much better. And this is when your life begins changing, and this is when your entire communications world starts changing. Realize this, the best communicators out there know how to adjust to other people's ego and still get their message across. What they don't do is they don't try to bring other people and force them to adapt to their ego. That's not what smart communicators do. Once you start becoming a smart communicator, you start making it fun. You start enjoying the whole process of communication because at this point, You don't take things personally. You use your ego to give you a sense of self, to give you a strong identity, and you still use your ego to give you more perspective of the communications world. Problem solved. You don't want to be the bad apple in communications world, my friend. There's a lot of people out there, and most people at the end of the day have an untamed ego. Because taming your ego requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of critical thinking, a lot of creativity, and so much more. Most people aren't putting in that kind of work. And that's why nowadays, just think about politics, for example. Politics is very divided because it's like two groups of untamed egos just battling all the time. But for you to become a strong entrepreneur, to become a strong model citizen, you have to have gray level thinking. Start being able to go through the spectrums, and I guarantee you, your communication skills will skyrocket. So with that being said, the final thing that I want to ask you from this video is to just ask yourself, who am I? And if you can answer that question in one sentence, then you have an untamed ego. Big red flag. Keep on asking yourself that question over and over again, and it should give you a new response time and time again. The more that you keep doing that, the more you're walking towards a tamed ego. You have a guard dog that will now listen to you. If today's video helped you, make sure, like I said, to drop a like for me and you share this video with your social media platform of choice. Thank you for joining me on the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.